were having frequent ash eruptions. So I said, this thing looks a bit larger than normal. And we drove from there, I mean, about 500, about 600 yards before the first pyroclastic flow came down and took out, well, went down the back of the village. There was a waterway. And I drove from there and I went on top of a hill called Jack Boy Hill. And when we got there, about maybe 4 minutes later, the second pyroclastic flow came down.
I experienced many ash falls. Ash goes everywhere, even in your refrigerator. We went to the back of the school and we prayed, and we had to guide those children from the infant block to the main part of the school. The children complained that they were seeing sparks because there was a river not too far from the school, and we just call it a river, but it's just like a stream.
Is the act of nature, right? An act of God. The ash still came. I think it did change everybody's trajectory, because then all of a sudden we don't have a place to come home to.
They decided we had to evacuate. And I have to say, it was a bit terrifying at the time. Looked up and I dashed into the hospital and I told Claire, go, drive out of here. Well, within minutes, the whole place went absolutely black.
Those are the golf course pictures.
That's what it looked like before. This was taken in '94, so that's a year before it erupted. So it was beautiful, all forested. It was just tropical forest up there, see. Yeah, that's when we first came in '94. And this is a real classic photograph. That's Rams in Plymouth. And there's me. This is my daughter Claire. So we'd go into Rams to shop, because Rams was supposed to be closed.
Right. Yeah. So everything was kind of not back to normal.
So that's what the dome looked like at the top. And you can see it steaming. These are a bit random. Look, that's a phreatic eruption that was taken from our house. just starting. And this is what it was looking like at the top when all the vegetation had just burned off. Look, there's another phreatic eruption taken from our house.
Those are the church,
Pictures.
one of the churches up north on Christmas Day that had been turned into a shelter.
This building here was the was where the ward is. Yeah, yeah. We had the Marines with their in their planes bringing supplies. And this was, we called it Tent City. At the beginning of the volcano, they built, the Brits put all these tents up for people to go to when they were evacuated.
I relocated to several villages. I was in Davy Hill, I was in Salem, I was back in Salem, I was in Cudgehead, I was in Woodlands, I was in St. Peter's, and then now I'm here at my own home in Salem. In Corkhill, I had to go to work in the unsafe zone. And when I came out here, no one wondered, well, where I would stay. I had to go and rent facilities, and then eventually when they were choosing teachers, I was chosen, but nobody asked me about my housing conditions. Later on, something was put in place, but I was not successful because I was just a single person. Housing facilities did not come easy. There was some shelter, what people call shelters. Specifically, specific buildings were erected for shelter. Some persons lived in schools, some lived in churches. But sometimes there would be friction. People from other communities, people who they were not accustomed to living with relatives and friends over here, and it was not easy. And sometimes you couldn't even get houses to rent, or even if you get a house to rent, it wasn't the best. So Montserratians had to leave overseas so their children could continue their education, and as well as for medical purposes. And many of them lost their homes with the volcanic activity.
I stood on top of a hill, as I said, and watched my village disappear. Literally watched the fantastic flow cover my house. And I just got my mom out about 5 minutes before. So while I was at Salem police station, they chose me as the driver that morning. While at the station, my brother came and told me Mom was home. When I got down to Trans, that's entering the village where we used to live, I made my way to the airport. On my way to the airport, here comes the governor's Discovery in the opposite direction, with the governor, Frank Savage, halfway outside of the window, beckoning to me to go back, go back, go back. But when I went down to the airport, Everybody was getting into their vehicles, some using emergency escape, and they were leaving. So I just made a left turn, and about 200 yards to where my house was. And when I got there, my mom was in her work shed doing her research for the workshop. And I just said, Mom, come, let's go. It seemed like something was going on. I was numb. But when I looked across and I saw my mom, I just equated what I lost is just material things. At least if I'd lost my mom that day, it would have been something completely different.
I always think, oh, it's never gonna blow. We're done. We suffered. Come on, like. But everybody says that it could go again, and they say that like it's getting more active again. So just that concept, but you don't really think it's gonna happen. Like honestly, you think we had our turn. How can we have it again? But it could happen anytime, really.